You really need to engage the students on many more senses than just the textbook and the lecture level. I also have, over the course of the last year, developed a MediaKron site using timelines, embedding YouTube videos, embedding cultural aspects, and that's really very important.
We did a maternity project and we saw all different countries' view on postpartum as well as just the childbearing process. And with the timeline, you could click on different eras and see how it's progressed through the years.
I like the iClickers and use them throughout my lecture to highlight material and make sure that the students have an understanding of what concepts we just covered, or to see where they are before I really delve in.
We use them for quizzes, so it forces us to use a lot of interaction with her PowerPoints and also the whole practice on the computer kind of that we have to be used to for taking the NCLEX.
The world has become an international place. For the Business Planning and Entrepreneurship course in the full-time MBA program, an increasingly higher number of projects are coming from outside of the United States. I want the technology to allow these entrepreneurs to seamlessly be able to work with Boston College and give our students the best educational experience possible.
First and foremost, we use Skype to communicate with the consultants in China, which without his leveraging that technology, we never would have been able to get anything accomplished. We wouldn't have been able to have regular contact with them. He also highly encouraged us to use shared resources. We used a lot of technology in that class to get the project done, to share and pass files between each other.
One of the best aspects of the class that we were able to use was getting in front of people even when they weren't in the Boston area. So we were able to Skype with venture capitalists even if they weren't able to make it to campus. We were able to meet as a group and still bounce ideas off of them, and they knew what they were getting into because they had kind of a sense of what we were doing. We could really communicate better than just passing emails along.
Seung-A is nominated for her use of virtual reality and robotic technologies in her courses on communication technology and new media and society. She also guides students in exploring media development resources such as Adobe Photoshop and models engaging use of PowerPoints and other visual aids. Professor Jin pursues a learning by doing teaching strategy. She incorporates a virtual reality environment called Second Life, which allows her students to create avatars and simulate the situations and concepts discussed in class materials. She also brings in a haptics feedback robot to offer students first-hand experience with an innovative resource. Students remarked on how these opportunities allow them to visualize the transformative potential of technology in a way they could not simply from readings.
I've long been a fan of MediaKron from its early inception as a sort of repository which my students could draw upon. I particularly liked MediaKron as a device through which the students themselves produce knowledge. It was MediaKron that first gave me the idea that I might actually get my students to become the manufacturers of information, as distinct from being the mere absorbers of it. Digital Dubliners was set up as a way for the students to become involved themselves in the actual publication of a text. Not just publishing, but of course researching that. I think that the skills that they learned in producing this are ones which will benefit them in all of their studies.
Working on our iBook really helped me be immersed in the culture and history of 1904 Dublin. We looked at the original video from events that Joyce was writing about in Dubliners. I was able to look at online archives and incorporate original images of Dublin into the book.
iBooks can only work to the degree that they present something that the regular paperback book can't do.
That it really makes you try to get inside the world of the book as much as possible. Nothing that really pales to having visuals, especially visuals that are contemporary to the author's life. To be able to see what he actually saw is awesome because it really lets you get inside of his head.
I try to use technology to make this very large class, 150 students who are learning statistics, to feel smaller. The system of iClickers allows for the feedback. I've used it to both get feedback on whether the material is very difficult or easy, as well as to kind of explore actual problems and to get them thinking in the classroom.
Cichello was able to see where the entire class was and he could slow down in certain parts when 80% of the people got it wrong, or he could go a bit faster when everybody got it right and it was too easy.
What my stat lab has allowed me to do is it has allowed me to give students short answer questions or multiple choice questions before they come to class. If they have trouble, the system will give them encouragement by kind of giving them hints so they can try it again and again and again until they get it right.
You can redo the problems until you get them correct, and you kind of can look at the examples and then do a new problem, so you can keep doing it until you've understood the concept.
I'm using a tablet in class to make an answer more complete, like we always used to do on the chalkboard, to work through a problem for students.
It's a big lecture class. You can kind of get lost in the lecture. If he sees that we're not understanding a certain slide, then he can use annotations and kind of do an example and demonstrate how the theory really works.
This year, a special Teaching with New Media Award goes to the MediaKron Project. First developed at Boston College in 2006, MediaKron is a tool for creating media-rich course websites. A recent Davis Educational Foundation grant made it possible to further develop MediaKron and to share it with 6 partnering higher education institutions through the MediaKron Project. This year, the MediaKron Project is being recognized for creating a learning community that connects MediaKron users and for enhancing the tool's innovative capabilities. At Boston University, Gwen Cordonaway uses MediaKron in a course exploring the literature and art of the Great Depression. Christopher Evans used MediaKron in an undergraduate course on American religious history. And Andrew Basovich's MediaKron project poses questions charting the path of Western interaction with the Islamic world. At Bucknell University, Mike Toole uses MediaKron in an engineering course to help students visualize building systems and work with CAD images, while Stephen Bonapane's MediaKron project examines the design of bridges and buildings. At Dartmouth College, Noelia Cirnigliaro's students use MediaKron in an introductory Hispanic Studies course, while Mark Williams uses MediaKron in a course on the history of journalism. At Clark University, Robert Boatwright uses MediaKron in a political science course to examine the theory and practice of campaigns and elections. At Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Michael Buchholz uses MediaKron in the biology teaching lab, and Jill Rolfe's MediaKron project focuses on issues related to global health. At Providence College, Edgar Mejia and Monica Samal use MediaKron in a Hispanic Civilization and Literature course. Ted Andrews and Eric Chappett's MediaKron project creates an educational resource about the Dorr Rebellion. At Boston College, Ana Martinez Aleman uses MediaKron to help graduate students visualize and interact with important events, figures, and trends in the history of higher education. Filippa Anzaloni's MediaKron site helps students understand the evolution of art law by plotting key images on a timeline and a map. Caroline Bix uses her MediaKron site for a Shakespeare lecture course in which students work in groups to generate content to be shared with the rest of the class. Sean Copeland's MediaKron site explores the topic of slavery as a theological issue by featuring images of key figures and documents in the emancipation movement. Michael James uses MediaKron as a contextual resource for students in courses on religion and higher education in America. Joseph Nugent had his students use MediaKron to create a digital guide to James Joyce's work, The Dubliners. Frank Salimi's MediaKron site introduces students to Middle East history through a timeline spanning more than 5,000 years and a collection of interactive political maps. Colleen Simonelli uses MediaKron in a childbirth nursing course to show a timeline of prenatal development and a student-created map of global birthing practices. Crystal Tiala and Jackie Daly use MediaKron to provide social context and a gallery of design elements in a course on the history of fashion and decor.